Intel's next-gen processor Panther Lake is our first processor to be built in our 18A node process technology. I'm Alejandro Hoyos, and in this episode of Talking Tech, I get to sit down and talk to Prashant about all the different things and advantages that 18A brings to the table. Join us on the road to Panther Lake.
As customer zero for 18A, we co-developed our SoC and the process together, and the newest node brings great performance and power efficiency, which is exactly what Panther Lake needs to meet the market expectations.
I'm Prashant, and I'm part of Intel Foundry Services, and I'm the general manager of Intel 18A and Intel 3 business lines. What this entails is basically understanding what are the customer requirements, working with TD to make sure our technology meets customer expectations, and ensuring the technology and the platform is ready for a customer adoption. That's basically a 100-feet view of what I do.
Here in this program, in this series, we have covered a lot of when it comes to the processors, the technology, the architecture, but this is actually the first time we get to talk about the foundry and how the process of how you actually make the physical processor. Why is this so important? Why is the foundry so important when it comes to the processor?
Absolutely. In fact, I see foundry not just limited to Intel products, but also it's a foundry for all of the commercial products that is made in the United States. And not just United States, even for the rest of the world. For example, we have foundry offering technology to customers in Asia, customers in Europe, customers in the US. The benefit of this is by working across a broad spectrum of customers, we know what the general forte of the technology should be. And by doing that, for our own products at Intel being developed, when they use our technology, they have a technology which is much more broader, much more competitive, and it kind of is a win-win situation. Number one, as a foundry, I get to support a broad set of customers, and for our products, to leverage our technology. So that's a win-win situation, and that's where we as Intel are in a unique position wherein we have our manufacturing and we have our products. That's how I would look at it.
Okay, with that said, so this time around, the process node that we're using for Panther Lake is 18A. Why is this so important to us? Why is 18A so amazing, and what is new there?
Absolutely. In fact, when Intel developed 18A, it was not just to advance Moore's law, but also to look at what is one of the common problems a designer faces when designing their products. For example, getting a good standard cell utilization, reducing your IR drop analysis, because with high-performance compute, you tend to have a lot of signals being toggled. That means you will have more IR drop. And as a designer, you tend to spend a lot of time on fixing IR drop problems. So in 18A, we have gate-all-around with also backside power. With backside power, we have actually coarse metallization going from the bump directly to the transistor connecting through your PowerVia. With that, the average IR drop is less than 1%, versus a traditional interconnect, you would have close to 6 to 7% IR drop. And that difference in IR drop is basically your performance per watt benefit. So that way, as a technology, it enables Panther Lake to take advantage of backside power. Next, in terms of gate-all-around, we actually have very competitive standard cell heights on 18A, such that for shrinkage of the block height, block area, you will have gate-all-around to advance Moore's law. So this is where you have both the gate-all-around, or we call as RibbonFET, and the backside power together, which enables designers to take advantage of the technology.
Okay, that makes complete sense. So we're moving away from the FinFET that we have done in the previous nodes, and now we're going to gate-all-around. How's the structure? Can you tell us a little bit more? How's the structure different?
Sure. So with gate-all-around, it is basically you have better electrostatics, and then gate-all-around by definition means you have the gate all around, right? So you have better control of your device. And we have, like for example, 4 nanosheets or 4 RibbonFETs, and that was designed to have good performance per watt. So if you look at our transistor operations, you look at our SRAM designs, we actually have superior Vmin for the memories as well as the transistors. So we have very good performance at the low end, like 0.565 volt or lower, And also we have very good performance at the higher end. For example, let's say for Fmax improvement greater than 1 volt. This wide range of operation is enabled through our gate-all-around technology.
Throughout the last process technologies, throughout the last couple of years, we have had MIN capacitors in our design. So I had a couple of questions for you. So the first one, what is a MIN capacitor? How does it work? And second, well, let's start with that one.
Sure. So in fact, when it comes to MIM capacitor, this is a metal insulator metal capacitor. And in 18A, this is in the backside. And we actually offer industry-leading 397 femtofarad per micrometer square. And that's one of the world-class capacitor. And the main advantage to a designer is by utilizing the MIM capacitor, the inductive power droop is greatly minimized. What this means is when you have a lot of signals toggling, even though you may have a lot of current demand, then the amount of inductive power droop in your signal, on your power lines is reduced.
Right.
And that is very critical for high performance compute. And that is where Intel, with its MIM capacitor, provides world-class leading decoupling capacitor capabilities in our technology.
Yeah, so you're using that as a, well, you just said as a decoupling capacitor to reduce noise in the power planes.
In the power supply.
Planes. Yeah, that makes sense. So for 18A, we're calling them now Omni. Is there a difference? I mean,
no, it's the same MIM capacitor, just that Omni is the commercial name we are using for it.
Okay, so now that we have 18A and is there, and we are, well, Intel has completely, we're looking for customers. How does these customers, I guess including Intel, get to work or have a design and have it done in 18A?
Absolutely. So one of the fundamentals for success in our technology is not just having the technology in itself, but it's also to have the ecosystem partners, like for example, your EDA tools. The tools are fundamental to make sure they fully understand the technology and they can take advantage of the technology. Second is the IP ecosystem. So we actually have worked with our ecosystem partners like Synopsys, Cadence, Ansys, and so on. And they have all the IPs, be it a DDR, a 224 gig SerDes, all of those investments we have made, and they have those IPs enabled. Now let me give you a little bit more background about what we did with our EDA partners. For more than a few years, we did what is called as DTCO, which is Design Technology Co-Optimization, wherein the Synopsys of the world, the Cadence of the world, they got our early access to the PDK. And when you do gate-all-around with backside power, the way the tools have to interpret the technology and do physical design is very different than just having a FinFET-based technology with front-side only power. So for example, the entire local routing to global routing optimization was rewritten by the vendors. And then when you have high utilization, how do you do the routing? How do you do the buffer insertion? So in fact, the India vendors had to completely relook at buffer insertion. They had to also look at how is the clocking done. For example, when you have to shield your clocks, which is going to be routed in the front side, then how do you take the power or the ground from the back to the front? So all of this is fully automated. So this design technology co-optimization, which was done by the EDA partners, was very critical. So why I'm giving you this detail is all of this is a very systematic approach, which we did at the Foundry, working with our partners, that when a customer to come on board, they just need to understand the new capabilities, for example, the backside power, the gate-all-around. But as far as the basic physical design concepts go, they're pretty much similar. So there's going to be minimal learning for them because all the heavy lifting is done by the EDA tools. So we wanted to make sure for a design team to move from a FinFET front-side technology to a gate-around backside is as seamless as we can. So it's already built into the tools.
That's pretty impressive because, like you said, there's a couple of challenges in there when it comes, like you mentioned, we're used to having the power per se coming from the top, but now you have the power coming from the bottom. So you have, like you said, shielding all these high frequency signals that need to be shielded, and there are different metal layers, so it makes it more challenging. Not only that, but you have now, I guess, increased the complexity of routing because, you have metal, then you have your transistors, which should be at the bottom, but then again, you have metal
Yeah,
If that-
actually,
right.
let's take a little step back, and I'll give you some more examples of what work we had to do. For example, now all the power is routed at the back side,
Right.
and all the signal is at the front side. So there are two main advantages of that. One is, in a traditional front side design, your power and signal would compete for resources, right? So you tend to end up having congestion in routing. And whereas now what happens is the front side is purely for signal and the back side is for power. So there is no competing for resources between the power and the signal. And the tools should understand that. And by doing that, what happens is you have higher standard cell utilization. And when you have higher standard cell utilization, it also reduces your area of your block. And when you put all the cells closer, one of the common problems would be when they're all switching, you will have IR drop problems.
Yep.
But now when you have the power in the backside, as I explained earlier, we tend to have a coarse metallization. That means the power signals at the powers at the backside, they're wider, right? The interconnect is wider. So it's less IR drop.
Yes.
So basically, it's a phenomenon of correct by construction, correct by design, correct by tooling. And it's a whole new cycle of correct by process, if I were to say that it enables a much superior design overall.
Yeah, that's impressive. And here's another question for you. When you're talking about IR drop, because you have such a much wider metal, it's been able to communicate that. I guess the aging process, it's less shown. I mean, it takes longer for that.
Actually, from a electromigration perspective, wider metals are better.
Okay. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, for the power signals, in fact, many of the designers I work with, they tell me when they do power EM, there's hardly any violation.
Yeah.
Right? So in fact, they just run Red Hawk or whichever tool of their choice, and it's clean, right? For
nice.
power. And I've been a designer in my past life where I would spend at least 20% of my design cycle time fixing EM violations on power and fixing IR drop violations. And if the heating is high, I had to spread out the devices, cells around. And those are things which are much, much easier now.
Yeah, so less of a headache, especially when you're doing like analog circuitry layout and then you have to move it around. It's a pain in the neck.
That way our designers can focus more on architectural features, design improvements, rather than trying to improve EM, for example, or trying to improve IR drop, for example. That's another way of enabling our designers to be more competitive, if I were to say that way.
No, that makes sense. So it's a very impressive lift of making sure that you have all these standardized so that the new designers from outside can just use it.
Yes.
And the learning curve is not that steep.
That's correct.
That's pretty impressive. So saying that, what has been one of the biggest challenges that you have run into in 18A, but that you're proud of that you were able to, conquer that challenge?
I think one of the biggest things about 18A and why I'm super excited is we actually foresaw as a company, as a technology development organization, and as Foundry Services, the need to have gate-all-around and backside power together in the very first generation. Why that's a significant heavy lift is, if you see from Intel 3, which is one of our previous nodes, we had FinFET and we had front-side power. Now, if you look at 18A, you have changed your FinFET to gate-all-around, which is RibbonFET, and the front-side power is now changed to backside power, and you still have signals. And we did not do everything together on 18A. First, we put our backside power on a older Inter 4 technology. We made sure it works. In fact, in 2023 VLSI Symposium, we have a paper where it was disclosed, right? And we made sure the backside power is robust. Then we took that technology and put it on 18A. So it was a proven technology on a previous node, and then we put an 18A. So it was not like we did not plan for it, we did not anticipate it, and that's where today, when you look at our silicon robustness, our backside power is extremely robust overall from a manufacturability perspective. And to me, if we did not do that, that would have been a very big challenge because it's two brand new technologies in one. And why I'm very proud and excited about this is, as part of my job, I pretty much talk to every hyperscaler in the Silicon Valley. I pretty much talk to every HPC AI customers around the world.
Right.
And what excitement I see in their face is the fact that we have both backside power and gate-all-around together, while they have to wait for a little bit more duration from our competition.
Right.
So to me, that tells me that we did something right, and we did something which our competition did not do, right? But I'm sure the competition will catch up. But for us, it's a matter of fact that acknowledging ourselves that we did the right thing, but we should continue our improvement, and that's where 18AP is going to come. For example, 18A was our first foray into gate-all-around. Mm-hmm. With 18AP, we will have an 8 to 10% performance per watt improvement because our competition is not quite either. They have a systematic way of improving performance. So when we have 18A, 18AP offers an 8 to 10% performance per watt. And then we have 18AP-T in our roadmap, which is basically makes 18A as our base die with TSVs to connect 14A as the top die for compute. Oh. That is for 3D IC, eventually what pretty much customers in the AI and HPC domain in future will be using. In fact, even our own Intel products will be having 3D IC pretty soon. So overall, this is how I see 18A as a node which started off a few years ago, is now evolving and maturing into a broad-based foundry node. And why it's important for our customers is they don't want to have a node which is short-lived. Yeah. They want to have a node on which they can design for a decade. And 18A, 18AP, and 18AP-T gives them that assurance, that supply guarantee with us investing heavily in our fabs in Oregon, in Arizona, and future Ohio. So overall, this is what is super exciting to our customers, super exciting to me. And I think we did all the right things. We just need to start executing to our commitments.
No, that makes sense. So what's in the future for 18A is 18AP and 18AP-T.
That's right. In fact, 18AP is right around the corner. So this year, end of this year, we're going to be entering HVM for 18A. Yep. And next year end, it'll be 18AP HVM. 18AP is a big punch, if I were to say, from a PPA perspective. I'm super excited. I'm sure you guys will hear more about it.
Well, Prashant, thank you so much for being here with us today, for sure taking the time. And I can't wait to see you when we go and start talking about 18AP and 18AP-T. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure is mine. I'm super excited about 18A, and so is our customers. And we would love to have this opportunity to come and showcase the technology developments we have done to our partners inside Intel and outside Intel. And overall, this is the right time for us to be with the right technology. That's what we truly believe in.
What I'm most excited about for 18A is people have been waiting and wondering and questioning how 18A is going. And the only way to answer those questions is actually with product in the market. And we've done a deep disclosure on products and 18A to our tech press and analysts recently. And now they're starting to see what coming to life is going to look like as we head towards next year when products come to market.